Welcome to the Daily Bite with your host, Pastor Steve Andrews.
Today we have just a short chapter with Ezekiel chapter 15. And the word of Yahweh came to me, Son of man, how does the wood of the vine surpass any wood, the vine branch that is among the trees of the forest? Is wood taken from it to make anything? Do people take a peg from it to hang any vessel on it? Behold, it is given to the fire for fuel. When the fire has consumed both ends of it and the middle of it is charred, is it useful for anything? Behold, when it was whole it was used for nothing. How much less when the fire has consumed it and it is charred can it ever be used for anything? Therefore thus says the Lord Yahweh, like the wood of the vine among the trees of the forest, which I have given to the fire for fuel, so have I given up the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And I will set my face against them, though they escape from the fire shall yet consume them, and you will know that I am Yahweh when I set my face against them. And I will make the land desolate, because they have acted faithlessly, declares the Lord Yahweh. This is the word of the Lord. See what I mean? Just a short one. And there's really a great opportunity for a family campfire if your family enjoys that sort of a thing, because you can play out this conversation. Now, you might not have vines available to you, although you might be able to find some. Otherwise, you can find similar types of things. Essentially, you're looking for stuff that you would not otherwise be able to use for anything else. So the twigs that have fallen in your yard, even weeds perhaps, that are they're plant-based, right? But they're not useful for anything. You could have a similar conversation with something like that. The picture being of the stick, for example, the little twig that you've put into the fire. Well, most of it burned, but you've got that little chunk left after the fire has cooled. You couldn't use that, 6-inch little twig for anything in the first place. Now you've only got 1 inch of it left, and it's burned at both ends and kind of darkened in the middle too. Can you use that for anything? No, it just remains fuel for the fire. It wasn't even good enough for that. So that's a really neat picture. And again, your family can do that if that's something that you enjoy doing. But let's actually look at the text and see what it is God is saying here. It's another chapter about his judgment upon the people of Judah or Jerusalem. The comparison is wood and the vine. So wood comes from trees. As you think of lumber, you have to have a decent enough trunk to a tree to be able to get wood out of that can be used for building things, construction. And then you think of a vine. A vine is, in its own way, again, it's a plant. It's like a tree in that it grows. It grows long. It can grow tall, depending on the type of vine. But there's no thickness to it. There's nothing there that you'd be able to, peel back the bark and then have something that you could actually take to the sawmill and cut into something usable for construction. It's just, there's nothing to it. You're not going to be able to use that vine for anything. That's the question, the challenge here. That's the point of comparison for the whole chapter. So as we look out at verse 3 then already, you have the question, is wood taken from it to make anything? The answer to that, no. There's just simply not enough wood there to be usable. Would you take a peg from it? Which, that's obviously something small, in order to hang a vessel from it. And again, the answer to that is no. You can't even get that small of a thing from it. You think here like, the little coat hooks or something that you might have on your wall that you can hang your jacket up when you've come in your front door. You can't get even that from a vine. It's just not big enough. Verse 4, behold, it is given to the fire for fuel. After it has been cut down, so after it has done its growing and produced fruit or failed to produce fruit, and you cut it down, what's it good for? Just destruction. There's no other purpose for this thing. It's going to be burned. Now, notice, keep in mind, we're talking about God's judgment against his people. Right? When the fire has consumed both ends of it, the middle of its charred. Is it useful for anything? Once again, the answer to that question is no. The thing you can talk to about this with your kids, though, is what did God just say about man in general? Okay, because take this apart, right? This is the picture God is laying out of the reality of creation here, that the tree is useful because you can cut it down and get lumber and build stuff. The vine is not. When it's gone, it's gone. It's only useful to burn. And God is saying that of us. They were not useful, right? Verse 4, even before it had been burned, it was not usable for anything. Is it usable for anything after it's been burned? The people of God, apart from the Lord, were worth nothing. The people of Jerusalem did not do anything of value to the Lord. This ends up being such a crucial point in our understanding of Scriptures. There is nothing that we bring to the table. Nothing. Not at all. The Lord does not need me. I hope this podcast benefits many people, and I've been doing it for over a year now. I hope it's helpful. The Lord doesn't need me. The Lord can speak his word through others if I weren't here. And that would be well and good. In fact, as Jesus phrased it, God could raise up children for Abraham out of stones. The very creation itself can call out the wonders of God. We don't save ourselves. We don't have anything to offer to God. Everything is his to begin with. The reality is everything that the Lord chooses to do for us and everything that the Lord chooses to use us to do, all of that is gift. So that the Lord has called us his children is a gift. That the Lord has forgiven our sins is a gift. That the Lord will one day restore us and give us this new paradise in which we get to live with him forever is a gift. And the fact that he chooses to call us his sons and his daughters, the fact that he chooses to use us in continuing the work of his kingdom, the fact that he chooses to work through us to proclaim the gospel to those who need it, the fact that he chooses to work through us to do mercy, works of mercy, for those who are in danger or in need. All of this is gift. Just like as a parent, you might teach your child to do the things around the house that just need to be done. You involve them in the work of the family. But it probably would get done better if you just did it yourself. There's a similarity to that, right? The Lord does not need me, but he has invited me to be part of his family, and so he's going to work through me. But he could do it better himself, right? So a couple of different ways you can unpack that one with your kids, but again, crucial point of scriptural conversation, whether it's about stewardship, everything in the world belongs to the Lord, it doesn't belong to me. Everything about salvation is about God alone, not us. So hopefully you can pick up on those points together. The Lord has just declared that man is not necessary. But yet he chose to work through us. He chose to create us. He chose to love us. And this is a wondrous gift. So the people of Jerusalem, worthless before, and they are going to be cast into the fire, and they will be worthless then too. That does actually perhaps have something to say to this idea that's out there. There are people, even within the church, who don't like the idea that hell lasts forever. You want to talk about the fire, right? The lake of burning fire and sulfur. And so they've started teaching this idea called annihilationism, which is the idea that hell runs its course, and that the people who are cast into hell on the day of judgment, and the devil and his demons, they suffer in hell for a period of time, but then it ends, and they are gone. They are no more. Just like if you were able to fully burn a vine, it would be gone, it would be no more. But that's not the way that the scriptures teach and speak about such things. Even here, right, they might escape from the fire, yet the fire still consumes them, and they're still used for nothing. That lake of fire doesn't go out. And that gives us all the more urgency to the good news message, sharing Christ with all that we can, so that they too get to be in that paradise that is to come. All right, so verse 6, the wood of the vine among the trees of the forest, which I have given for fire, to the fire for fuel. Like that, God has given up the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Their judgment has come. They are being cast into the fire, destroyed. Now, whether we should view that as hell or not in this particular context is a question that I think we can answer. I don't think it's going too far to say that that is indeed hell, because they have been worshiping pagan gods and bowing down and making idols and altars and burning things to false gods for generations. And the Lord is cutting them off. He is calling them not his people any longer. He's making their land desolate. This is the promised land, remember? He's making the promised land desolate because of these people. But there is a remnant that he will save, that he will redeem, that he will rescue. So I don't think it's too far to say that the outcome for those people is not good. Not just in this world and in this life, but in the time that is to come as well. They are their land, and they themselves destroyed, because, verse 8, they have acted faithlessly. God's judgment is just. We are thankful, because we have Jesus, and he took away that sin from us, which would have brought us the same result, the same end. Praise Jesus for that gift of forgiveness and life that he has promised to you and to me, that we are not useless vines, but that instead he has created a place for us, and he's even given us things to do, to be a part of the family, as a part of the family, not to be, because we don't do anything to earn it, as a part of the family. He has called us to do good works.